Hi guys, hello, welcome to my channel. There's only a few more days left in October, so it is time to do our November TBR. And I thought it'd be fun to switch it up a little bit this month and have you guys help me out and kind of like blindly choose my TBR for me. I did originally get this video idea from Sarah Crowley, but I have done it one other time before and I had a lot of fun with it. You guys seem to have a lot of fun, so I thought it would be fun to do it again. If you didn't see my last video and you've never kind of seen this concept before, basically I picked 12 different books off of my shelves and I split them up into 6 different pairings and I added them to my Instagram stories as polls for you guys to choose between. But to make it more interesting, I had you guys choose blindly. So essentially I colored in the tops of the covers so you couldn't see what the actual book was, but I did add a couple of different types of hints. So I added some emojis to the front covers of each book to kind of give some clues as to what the book is. But then also the one little thing that I did add as my own little twist is an extra hint at the top of each story that gives you a clue as to what the books might be. I hope all that makes sense. If not, I'm sure it will as we continue on with the video. So here's our first poll, and the first little hint that I gave was a couple series I've been saying I want to start before the year is over. And this is one that, like, if you've been following my channel for a while, you might know what books I'm talking about because I have definitely talked about both of these several different times, like so many times I feel like. And as far as the actual emojis go, I feel like for the green book, I did a really good job at like describing the book, but the second one, I don't blame you if you have no idea what I'm talking about because I barely know what I'm talking about. So for the first one, the green one, we have a little like maple leaf, there's some chains, and then I used that little like, I don't know what it's called, filigree? Maybe. This emoji, I used this basically in, I think, a couple other ones too to represent gold. So for that book, we have Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. I have had this trilogy on my bookshelves for so long, and actually, now that I'm thinking about it, this was a mistake. The reason I've had this on my shelves for so long is because I need to read another series before this one, and I'm just now remembering that. Hopefully this one didn't win. But if it does, I guess I'll be reading the first book in that other series instead, which I will need to buy. But that one is Clockwork Angel. But we'll see what the results say. First of all, though, we need to figure out what our second book is. So the second one, the emojis that I used were a little like cloud with the sun peeking out, and that was supposed to represent mist. Again, totally understand if you had no clue what I was talking about, but just by me saying mist, you might know now. And then we have like a little purple guy, and that was mainly just because the cover of this book is purple. And then the other one is a little sword. The person on the cover does have a little bit of a daggery type of thing in their hand, but also just because it's like a fantasy novel. So those were the emojis that I picked for Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. When I do the emojis, I try to pick directly from like the cover, and there's just no emojis for what's going on here. But anyway, here's our first little battle. And again, because of my little mishap, I'm hoping Mistborn wins. But let's see the actual results. Mistborn did not win. Chain of Gold has won with 57%. So like I said, we're not actually going to be reading this book. I need to read the first book in the series before this one. So I'm gonna have to order that off of Amazon ASAP. Now let's go ahead and do our next poll, our second one. And this one, the hint at the top was beauty versus an insane deal. And then I put in parentheses from most recent bookstore vlog. So basically, if you saw my last bookstore vlog, it's 2 books that I bought in that video. And I do feel like with this one in particular, that hint at the top is really what was gonna kind of like help you out if you're trying to guess what the books were, because the emojis for these ones, not the greatest. We have a star, a little dead guy, and then blood that I kind of used to represent vampires. And that book is The Stars Are Dying. So star, dying guy. And this one is definitely the beauty of, you know, our top hint, because this is just like the prettiest frigging book. And then as far as our insanely good deal book, for our emojis, we have like a little magnifying glass. I have a skull and then a little dagger. I feel like I use the dagger quite a bit. We have Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. And yeah, I got this book for $5. I've been kind of like going back and forth on whether or not I wanted to read this book, but for $5, how could I say no, you know? Also too, just to explain the emojis, because I didn't really do that, the magnifying glass was the only thing I could think of to like represent stalking. The skull is for like Jack the Ripper because he like kills people. And then the dagger, again, there's actually like a dagger on the cover of this book. So let's see which book won. Oh, okay. I'm actually kind of surprised by this for some reason. I mean, I do think I like the emoji set for Stalking Jack the Ripper better, like aesthetically, but I thought like the stars were dying was very obvious, and I know when I showed this book in that bookstore vlog, a lot of people were saying that they had interest in it or they had read it and it was really good, so I was kind of expecting that one to win. But Stalking Jack the Ripper has won. Moving on to our third poll, we have, for the hint, it says only one can win, and this one I realized after I posted it that was very vague. I meant it in the sense of like both of the books are about competitions where only one person wins. Hopefully you guys understood what I was trying to go for there. So the first one, we have two girls and then a little emoji of someone just, for me, it was supposed to represent just like one, and then a crown. And the book for this one was Three Dark Crowns. And for this one, I do feel like you kind of have to know what the plot is about to be able to like decipher what the emojis were supposed to say. Basically, this one is about a set of triplets who, I think on their 16th birthday or something like that. Yeah, on their 16th birthday, basically they have to battle to the death until only one of them survives, and that winner is going to become the new queen. And also too, each of them has like their own magic, which I love the idea of. So this one sounds like a lot of fun. I've been really dying to read it like ever since I got it months and months ago, but for whatever reason, I just keep like not picking it up. So I'm kind of hoping this one wins, but we'll see. And then the second one that we have is a new book that I just got. So this one, again, if you've been kind of like watching my last couple of videos, might have been fresher on your brain, so you might have been able to pick out which one this was. For our emojis, we have that little dagger again, and then I have a gray heart, and that was supposed to represent silver, and then we have a bone. And from those two emojis specifically, I feel like you might have been able to guess that our other book is Silver in the Bone by Alexandra Bracken. I literally just got this on my last bookstore trip, and I don't know, it just looks like a lot of fun. And again, it's another competition to the death. This one's actually a deadly race, not necessarily a competition, I guess, but there's a life-changing prize, and she's basically trying to win it to save her brother, it seems like. So these are our two choices for this third poll. Let's see what our results are. Again, I'm kind of hoping Three Dark Crowns wins. It did not. With 64%, Silver in the Bone has won, so we will be reading this one in November. But honestly, I might pick up this one as well, just because it's been on my TBR for a very long time. And I don't understand why, because it does sound so good, like the exact type of book I love. Moving on to our fourth poll. This one, the hint is a couple new YA books. So again, for like the bajillionth time, if you saw my last bookstore vlog, you'll know exactly what these books are, especially with the emojis, because I feel like I did a pretty decent job, at least with the first one. We have a little blackbird or a raven, two girls, and then a magic wand. And that was for the Ravens, which is basically a book about a sorority of witches. So the blackbird obviously for the title, but then also the girls for sorority, and then the wand for magic because they're witches. I feel like I did a really good job with the emojis for this one. The second one, however, maybe not so much. This one might be a little bit more ambiguous. We have a building, a light bulb, and a spider web. And for that, we have the 1000th floor. I did the building obviously for the building. That's what's on the cover. And then I did the light bulb purely for the fact that one of the characters on the back's name is Watt. And then I did the spider web because I feel like the whole concept of this book is how like different characters' lives kind of intertwine with each other like a web. For this little set of books in particular, I don't really have like a want either way. So let's see which one wins. Ooh, okay, I'm actually kind of surprised. This one has won. If I was taking this poll and had no idea what the books were and just went off of emojis, I would have picked the little raven one. So I'm kind of surprised that this one has won. It was close. We've got 45 versus 55%, but 55% of you have picked the 1000th floor. I think that's the best I've ever said that word. Moving on to our fifth poll. The hint that I have is a Battle of the Gold, and then in parentheses I put one is old, one is new. Basically, the covers of these books have gold on them, and one of them has been on my TBR for a very long time, and one of them is brand new. So for our first one, we have a little girl, a skull, and then a band-aid. And this one is one where you kind of have to know the plot a little bit to understand the emojis that I picked. But the first book is The 13th Child, and the gold element is, of course, these super, super pretty gold foiled edges. I'm obsessed. And this is one that I did just recently talk about in my bookstore vlog, and so many of you have either said that this is also something that you want to read, or you've already read it and you really liked it. So definitely piqued my interest even more. Basically we have a little girl because it's the 13th child, and then the skull is basically because the cover has a bunch of like skulls hidden into, I think this is supposed to be like a cave, like rock formation. And I did the band-aid because the whole concept around this book is basically that our main character is a healer, and then the other one is our old book that I've had on my TBR for literally way too long. And this one, for the emojis, I put a goose, a little finger pointing from the goose to our next thing, which is again that little like design element that I used to represent gold. And this is one that you did kind of have to know the plot to understand the emojis, I think. But we have Guild, which is the first book in the Plated Prisoner series, which is a King Midas retelling. And the story behind him is like everything he touches turns to gold. So that's kind of why I use the finger pointing to the gold. So like everything he touches turns to gold. And then I used the goose. I was trying to think of like a bird because the front cover of this has a cage, but I couldn't really find one that seemed to fit. And then when I saw the goose, it made me think of like the nursery rhyme about the goose laying golden eggs. And again, this is about like turning things into gold. Maybe it was not very good of an emoji to use, but that's what we did. Let's see which one won. I have no idea which one you would have picked. Ooh, okay. Guild has won, which I'm actually kind of excited for because again, this one has been on my TBR for entirely too long. I need to read this series. I literally think I bought this entire series in my very first book haul on this channel. So I've had this for as long as I've had this channel, which in February is going to be 2 years. So that's just entirely too long for a book to like sit on my shelves. Now let's go ahead and do our last and final one. And this one I don't actually have the physical books with me because these are books that I have saved on my Kindle list on Amazon. I recently re-signed up for Kindle Unlimited, which does cost a monthly fee of like $12. So I want to make sure that I'm making a point to actually like read at least a couple of books on my Kindle every single month to kind of make that price worth it. So that's why we have one option that is completely just Kindle books. And our hint for this one was books from Kindle that have nothing in common. And then I said in parentheses, sorry, that's all I've got, because literally they were just 2 books on my Kindle. They have absolutely nothing in common like the other ones. And my Kindle Unlimited like list is not like public, it's just for me. So you had to go purely off of the emojis. And that being said, I feel like the very first one is very obvious and it's for a book that is very, very popular right now. So I feel like that's probably gonna be the one that wins. But the emojis are a pumpkin, a coffee, and little fall leaves. And that was to represent the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. This one's actually not on Kindle Unlimited, but I think it's only like $2.99 or something really inexpensive, and I have like a $3 credit, so it would be free basically for me to read. And then the second one again is another one where you kind of have to know the plot. I guess I did more of those than I thought I did. I really tried to just pull from the covers, but if like the cover didn't have enough stuff, then I pulled from the synopsis. Anyway, this one is a little like bent over dying rose, a wolf head, and then a little fairy. And that book is Bonded by Thorns, and I used the first 2 emojis to represent the fact that this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And then the last one is because it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling involving the Fae. This one has been on my Kindle Unlimited list for a super long time. And let's go ahead and see which book won. Ooh, okay, so this one is very close. And the one that I thought was gonna win did win, which is the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, but it's a lot closer than I thought it was gonna be, like way closer. Literally it's 51% versus 49. I feel like the last time I did this, I was really surprised by a lot of your guys' picks as well. Like I had an idea of what I thought you guys were gonna pick, but for the majority of them, you picked like the total opposite. But anyway, we do have our November TBR, and I'm gonna go over them really quickly so we can kind of refresh our memory. So the first book is Chain of Gold, but technically it's going to be Clockwork Angel. Then we have Stalking Jack the Ripper, Silver in the Bone, The 1000th Floor, Guild, and then the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. I'm super happy with our choices, very excited about November. Thank you so much for participating in the voting if you did, or just thank you so much for watching this video regardless of whether you voted or not. Let me know in the comments what you guys have on your November TBR and like what book you're most excited for. That is all that I think I have for this video. I hope you guys have had the most amazing of days, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye!